Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband Jim. And we are going to take just a little bit and, of course, talk about our favorite topic, which is artificial intelligence. Now, first of all, we are in Texas, and I know that it's very, very cold all over the United States. But here in Central
It's
Texas,
almost up to freezing.
it's almost up to 32 degrees. We woke up this morning with a very balmy 14 degrees outside, which, you're laughing if you're somewhere
In
on the East
Minnesota.
Coast or Minnesota but let's face it, we are not prepared for cold.
Not this kind of cold,
No,
anyway.
not this kind of cold. So, our water faucets are dripping and we're in the living area and we're bundled up in our blankets. And you can hear our dog over in its kennel snoring because it's refusing to leave its kennel. And so
It's chilly.
it's chilly
And we have some light snow and sleet on the
a little bit
ground.
of snow, a little bit of sleet.
We're not going to make a snowman, but we've
No.
got some temperature out there.
Something
Anyway,
we're not used to. So we're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, of course. And the first thing we're going to hit is we're going to hit just the latest things, a couple of articles that we've seen recently that we thought was interesting.
I see lots of interesting articles, but I was trying this week to focus on education in the articles I was looking for because I found some great science one. I could spend an hour just talking about the science ones.
Right.
But education, I thought this one was good.
So your classmate could be an AI student at this Michigan university.
Ferris State University.
So what it is, it's a research project that they're doing.
Yes.
And it's actually very interesting. They've developed an artificial intelligent student, two of them actually.
Yeah, Fry. Then they give them
I think
names: Anne and Anna and Fry. I think. Yeah, Anne and Fry. Yes,
So
Anne and Fry.
they're going to let these two AIs participate in class. They're actually allowing the AI to decide what courses it's going to take, what it's going to sign up for. They're going to have microphones
In the classrooms.
Yes. So it can listen into the professors.
You kind of wonder how the professors feel. I guess they have to volunteer to participate. Their goal, as I understand it, is to have the whole process. It's an evaluation tool. How do we do at registering for classes? How do we do at financial aid? How do we? So they're trying to get the whole student experience. Kind of like when we haven't gone this far with it. We created our own students.
Yes.
And I got a little carried away with it because we have Bob Yellow Jacket, we have Susan Yellow Jacket, and we have Andy Yellow Jacket. Bob and Susan are married. Susan's a teacher. Bob's an administrator, and Andy's a student. And Rob's their uncle, and I don't know what he does.
I don't think Rob does a lot, actually.
I don't think he does either.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like this idea, though, I don't think our teachers would go for this, though.
What's the purpose of this, though?
Again, it's about figuring out, it's an evaluation tool, and it's theoretically less biased as a tool than a person is.
So it's going to be giving feedback.
I think that's the whole point, is they want to get feedback.
It says that they're literally going to learn as they go. They're going to allow the two AI students to pick the courses they are going to take. They're going to be general courses at this point. They're going to complete their undergraduate degree and even graduate degrees and even go further than that.
That's going to take a while.
They're going to use computer systems to simulate human intelligence. They're going to let it perform tasks. It's going to be doing the decisions. It's going to be.
They're going to have their own backstories, just like ours do. They're going to have backstories. So wow. I wonder if they're going to have kids.
So at the bottom of this article, it talks about what they're hoping to accomplish.
Yeah.
So
I think, again, you look at this as a research project, but it says they want to learn the impact of every aspect of the university: admissions, registration, faculty, the way they deliver their curriculum, the way you deliver lessons to students. I mean, that's kind of a big deal if it works. I mean, that's the whole thing about research, is you're not supposed to go into it with a preconceived notion. You're supposed to just let it run.
And they're also saying that they want to see how it is in 2024, which is very different post-COVID.
There's been lots and lots of people talk about the negative impact of COVID on learning.
For a long time, students were like, well, why do we need to go to school? Why can't we just do this at home? And
I never hear that anymore.
I never do. I mean, we have a son that is in college right now, And he does not like it when the class that he has to take is only offered online. And a lot of times that's the only option he might
Now it
have
is.
for
It's
a
funny.
class.
It's funny you mentioned that because before COVID, it was a lot harder to find classes that way. They didn't have that many. And like Rachel, our daughter, took one at UT and it was online. But she said that the two people that did it, it was so good that it actually didn't bother her because they treated it like a newscast. I mean, it
Right.
was very
You watch
interactive.
the video
You
and
didn't just watch a
do a
video.
chat.
It was live interaction with they were both on the stage at the same time.
So it wasn't truly, it was a hybrid. It wasn't truly 100% online where all you're having, the only communication you have with your professor is via email. I know that last
Well, no, it was
semester,
online because Rachel sat in her dorm room and took it. She just didn't. She wasn't at class with them. She sat in her dorm room and they remoted in. So it was like a Zoom call, except it was a really good one.
right, versus last semester, Jared had one that he couldn't even get the professor to respond to an email. And
No,
like the grades were not getting posted for like 3 or 4 weeks after he had turned in an assignment,
I
no
know it
office
was
hours, no
poorly done.
communication. Versus the one that Rachel took, you actually zoomed in at the time and they were talking to you at the time of the class,
And the thing
which
is,
is what I consider a hybrid online.
yes, it was a live. It was live. I agree with you. It was live. So Jared's, I think, was live too, but it wasn't interactive live. The guy he lectured live. He like lectured on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And one of the I don't really, you and I talk about this a lot because we deliver virtual webinars and things. I don't like the Zoom feel when I want you, when you and I do stuff we on the stage, we interact with each other. We talk, we kind of go back and forth. That doesn't work right on a Zoom call if you're sitting in two separate. Now we're going to try it differently next time. We talked about this. We're going to see if we can sit side by side and then both of us be on the same in the same window
Right.
in the Zoom call instead of in two separate locations. I just It surprises me how few kids like completely online courses. Jared is actually looking forward to this semester
Doesn't have
more
any.
because he has none. Now he may regret that statement because you and I
But
went to college with no online stuff at all.
this is what this university is doing.
They're trying to figure it out
They're
and make
trying
it
to figure
better.
it out, and they're trying to figure out from something that is not bias.
Yeah, because if you already hate something, then you're not going to be happy with it.
Right.
If you already dislike the idea of an online course, for example, like Jared does, or I would, I like online courses to some degree, but that's only because I can watch a little bit and then come back to it and watch a little bit and come back to it. That's not a course. That's a tutorial to me, and it's different to me. Anyway, it's an interesting idea. We don't want to beat that one completely to death. The other one I thought was interesting. We won't go into a lot of detail. You and I talk a lot about a global AI in education versus the United States,
It's very different.
and we've talked about it several times. It seems like globally they have a much different way of approaching AI. They don't approach it fearfully. They approach it with a plan. Whereas here, it seems like as usual, we're allowing litigation to determine which direction. Industry completely drives it, which I do not agree with. And the only way things change is if someone sues them.
Right. And like the House bill was just sent to subcommittee on the 15th of
The
December.
6791, I think.
Yeah, I believe that's
That
the
was the
number.
digital
6891.
digital
The
literacy.
AI, they're amending the Digital Literacy Act to
Yes.
include AI. It was sent to committee on the 15th of December. I promise you, it will stay in committee.
It'll die in committee.
It will not make any forward momentum.
Why
And
should
so,
it?
why?
Because there's not enough, there's not a big splashy headline around it.
Right.
They're trying to do what, and this guy talks about this, and this leads into one of your favorite topics, personal, because they talk about the three key points that this guy talks about. Because in this case, it was Qatar. Am I saying Qatar? I think that's right.
Qatar.
Anyway, he was interviewing someone there and how they're approaching it, and they're approaching it very open minded. They think it's important, but one of the key reason is personal AI tutors can benefit everyone, which we'll get back to. People need to learn computational literacy,
which is what we're talking about with this bill and
digital
else.
literacy. Stephen
very
Wolford has
important.
been preaching the computational literacy for quite some time. I did try to introduce that. I didn't get a lot of people interested at our high school. I think computational, which literally means to learn literacy about computing. It's not about AI in general. It's about learning how to create computational algorithms or use algorithms, algorithmic thinking, that kind of stuff. Stephen Wolfram has been talking about this stuff for years, the Wolfram Alpha guy. And then the last point they make, which you and I talk about all the time as well, is education. You're not getting rid of teachers.
No.
Based on what we saw last semester with Jared's professor, getting rid of a professor is a whole lot easier than getting rid of a high school
Yes.
teacher.
And I see all the time, I follow a lot of people on LinkedIn. And as I've said before, the people that I see on LinkedIn talking about education, it tends to be the higher education. It doesn't tend to be K-12. There are people talking about K-12 and AI, which I've been very disappointed in some of the things that they're putting out there.
Okay, before we go off on that, let's hit this first point here, and then we want to talk about what you were just about to go to. Personalized AI tutors can benefit everyone. We were just having a conversation with the Oracle.
We were, because
slash ChatGPT.
We have talked about a study that was done that basically talks
that Bloom
and
guy.
says,
that
yes,
Bloom guy.
Bloom taxonomy, but that Bloom guy. If you can give a student one-on-one in a classroom, tutoring, then that student shows a 2 sigma growth in their scores. Now, yes. In the past, that one-on-one is that person sitting next to them, literally small group tutoring.
One-on-one means one person per student, but even we used to have enough aides before they kept cutting our budget.
Right.
We had enough aides that we could have an aide in each one of our elementary classrooms.
And then they could pull that student,
and
they could pull them one at a time over to what I called teacher table.
Yes.
I would have centers, and I would have all of my kids going to different centers and doing different activities.
I remember that.
And then I would pull one student at a time over to my table, and I would pick like the 5 kids that were struggling with a certain concept, and I would do one-on-one with them. Well, that has kind of gone to the wayside.
It's gone to the wayside because of funding
there are
cuts.
Some schools who have the funding, but now you put them into labs and you put them in front of computers,
online tutoring,
and things like that.
It's not the same.
It's not the same because it's not personalized.
That's correct.
If you can put them in a lab and you can have a AI that is communicating with them on their level
and interacting
and
with
knows
them
all of their information about what they're missing conceptually, and then you can get that one-on-one personalized learning.
It feels more like it anyway.
It feels more like it. And so there's been several studies done about how AI can do the personalized learning, and you can see that 2 sigma jump. Now,
we went over an example. I've taken statistics.
Yes.
But it's been a long time, and I was having a difficult time envisioning what that means.
So on a bell curve, you have a bell, and you don't want the bell to be very spread out in K-12 education.
A standard bell curve looks like a nicely shaped bell.
When I was in administration and I would look at the scatter of grades in a classroom, you can tell if a teacher is making the material too hard, and you can tell if a teacher is making the material too easy based on where the scatter of the grades is.
If they're all clumped around a 60.
If they're all clumped around a 60,
then it's too hard.
It's too hard.
If they're all clumped around a 90.
Then they're making it a little too easy.
Right.
Okay. Now,
or if the bell's spread out too far, then you're not getting a good district.
The material might be on grade level, but you need to put a little more challenging activities in there. If everybody in your class has an A, then you need to challenge that student.
Which is hard to do, especially at a high school level when everybody's screaming because they want to get their kid into college. So they got everybody has to make an A.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure on the teacher.
But people don't realize that 70s is average, and it's okay to be average.
Not if you want to get into college.
But not if you want to get into college. So let's talk that 2 sigma. If I have grades that are ranging from like 60 to 90 normally, then a 2 sigma jump for that student is probably going to be about 20 points because my bell curve is closer together. And your sigma varies based on the spread of the curve.
The wider the spread, The bigger the
the
jump to
bigger
make
the
it
jump.
to make us 1 sigma. It's about how far it goes away from the mean or the average, I
Right.
think.
Yes, it's how far it goes away from the average.
Yes.
So if I have a student, and this is where it gets kind of interesting. If I have a student, think high stakes testing.
Yeah.
If
Nice
I am doing a
curve,
high stakes test and I have a passing grade of 70
which is a nice bell curve.
on a high stakes test, and I have 5 kids that are above a 70, but then I have 7 kids that are below a 70, which is failing, and I can give them one-on-one AI based personalized tutoring and get all of those kids 2 sigma jump, then I can get those kids to a 70. So then my state scores are going to go up, my ratings are going to go up, my job is going to be secure as an administrator.
What was interesting about, because we saw this with the guy that does Khan Academy,
Yes.
Saul Khan, I think is his name. What was interesting about it is when he did that study, which was way back in the 90s, or maybe even the 80s, when he did that study, the Bloom guy, he said that if you give individualized tutoring, you can get up to a 2 sigma jump. He didn't say AI. He didn't say anything.
He did not.
And then the studies basically said, but we know that's impractical because you don't have enough people, staffing and funding to deal with that on 100 million kids or 10 million kids or whatever it is. AI changes the equation theoretically, which is why Khan Academy's got their new Conmingo thing.
Yes.
It's interesting. I think
administrators are going to have to embrace AI
if they want tutoring. Yes. If they want individualized tutoring, I don't see another way. Because they keep cutting our funding. It's not like if we had those people back in the classes. I remember because they came in and did this study on our school district and said we had too many aides. Every one of those aides that got cut, it's not like they were just sitting around. I mean, I've been in those classes. Those aides were in the classes, as you said, in groups. I remember your aides that you had. You had one-on-one, especially when you were in kindergarten, 4th grade, the lower levels,
right.
Kindergarten especially. You had these little centers, and the kids were being moved into there, and you utilized them every day. Those poor people were so underpaid.
Yes.
Then they said, well, you have too many aides. So we cut them all almost. Mm-hmm. And I know our superintendent, if he had the money to put an aide in every class,
he would.
Yes. But he doesn't have the money.
No.
So maybe AI is I hope it's the solution. It's not free either, but it's certainly not as expensive as hiring.
Yes. I would love that. Okay. So now
your other thing you want
I'm
to talk
get on
about.
the soapbox.
You're going to get on a soapbox.
I saw an article on LinkedIn the other day, and it was somebody who talked about how they had gone into a school system and had done AI training with 30 plus teachers. And I won't say names, but they mentioned a joke that they like to say that let people know that AI had a cutoff date on its training. Like it had only been trained up to 2021 in their
now it's 2023, but it's early 2023. There's always a cutoff, whether it's 2022 or 2023. Yes.
And my point was the information that the person was giving while training K-12 educators was old. And what I did is I took the joke that they said that they had told to get the laugh out of the audience, and I put it to the test.
You did.
I asked ChatGPT. I asked the premium. I asked the free and the premium.
Yep.
Then I asked the free version of Pi.
Yeah, Pi is mostly free.
I asked
Bard. Perplexity.
I asked Perplexity. I asked Claude, I do believe.
You did ask Claude.
And so I asked the same thing. And all of them knew what this person said that it did not know, except for the free version of ChatGPT and
Claude. Claude didn't know. And the question you asked was, who's Taylor Swift dating? That was the funny part. We're not knocking. I understand trying to connect with your audience, and a way to connect with your audience is to make a joke about it. But what really got us both was that it implies when you're trying to convince someone to use something they're not sure about anyway, and then you immediately show them, you find its weakness and make it sound like that weakness is a big deal,
They're not going to go use it.
they're not. Why would they? We have a difficult time in our district, and we've been training for a long time.
Yes.
We have a difficult time because everybody wants to put it into the "I'll get around to it" pile.
Well, let's look at it this way. If I am a teacher that teaches at a grade level that I know that the TEKS, which is a Texas thing, if I know that the TEKS have changed in 2023
They
at the
did.
beginning of 2023.
The science teaks did, right? Because we
I,
looked. I
I'm
think it
not
was
100%.
I think it was
I
the
think
science
it
teaks.
was, but I haven't been on a campus in almost 2 years. If I know that a TEK has changed in 2023, and then the person who's training me about artificial intelligence tells me that the AI training cutoff is at the end of 2022, why would I even attempt to use it to ask it to help me with lesson planning?
First of all, let's address that statement. You haven't been on a campus in 2 years. That's not true.
Well, I haven't been
You
in it.
work in training teachers. You've even subbed when you were an administrator. It hadn't been that long since you're an administrator. You got into classes.
And I still go to campuses all the
I
time.
know, but
and
you
I
used
still
to
talk
sub
to teachers
classes
all the time. And
when
I still,
teachers didn't
yes,
show up
but I haven't been an administrator on a specific campus
in about a year.
So I don't keep up with the TEKs is what I'm saying. Not
Right.
like I used to.
Yeah.
It really bothered me because I think that there's so much going into college level training by people that we were just looking just a few minutes ago about a guy who wrote this huge paper about AI in college that has no technical background at all whatsoever.
Now we're going to get into my soapbox, my part of this soapbox, because my part of this is I see people, you and I sat in a training at a conference not long ago, and the person in there literally was giving wrong information.
Yes.
And they were showing themselves as an AI expert. Now, I understand people do training for a living. We partner with a company that does, Amy at FriedTech. The difference is FriedTech said, we don't have that expertise. We're going to bring it in. And they brought us in. Just to give you a perspective, I don't know anyone who does training for a living, Amy included with FriedTech. Amy doesn't go out to do trainings on Google stuff without having a whole bunch of experience and understanding of it. She doesn't read a couple of articles, type in a couple of Google searches, and then go present themselves as an expert. You can't do that with AI either. How much your expertise is education. You have a fair amount of expertise now in AI because you spent the last 8 months or more with AI stuff with me. But I have 2 degrees in technology. I've got 20, decades of experience in technology, and I still spent almost 2 or 3 years in machine learning and AI before I presented myself as an expert.
Yes.
And I don't think it's, now I'm not saying everybody has to spend the kind of time I do because I'm a little obsessive, but that doesn't mean you get to go out, and you should not go out and present yourself as an expert on a topic and then try to bond with your group with negative comments about the technology when you really don't have the background. I'm sorry. Your PhD in education does not make you an AI expert. My computer science, bachelor's in computer science, did not make me an AI expert.
Correct.
Rachel went and talked to a professor. He was a true he got his PhD in machine learning and artificial intelligence. This guy is a true expert. But I still, because of my technology background, I still spend an enormous amount of time. And still do with, I integrate it into my life. I do things with it every single day. And I've been doing that for 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. So first of all, if you want the expertise, call us. Mm-hmm. We do trainings. You can call us. You can hire us. We'll come talk to FriedTech. They'll bring us in. We don't mind helping you become we do train the trainers all the time.
Even when we did a session one time where we were training the trainers, I was really surprised at what we were training them on that they did not know.
Simple things about AI. They had made assumptions that were incorrect.
They had made some assumptions that were not correct. And I was like, wow,
Like they thought AI, when you ask it a question, was doing a Google search to answer it.
Right. And it doesn't.
It's not. When I kept saying it's generating an answer, they went, oh, so it's looking it up. They thought of it as Google searching it and then summarizing what you found in your Google search. That's not what it does.
No, it's not. And I think that's what bothered me the most about what I read this person, because the people, when we go in to train the trainers, a lot of campuses, a lot of schools have instructional technologists, and
Lots of
those
them.
are the ones that we need to get in with the instructional technology people, and we need to train them, because they are getting their training from some of the, from news articles, and from
Google searches
Google
and asking
searches, and
ChatGPT,
from, and they're getting their
and
trainings from people who don't know
they don't have the depth of
what they're
knowledge.
talking about.
Well, they don't have the depth of knowledge they need. There's two. When you and I train, the reason we train together so well is because I have the depth of technology, and you have the educational. You can connect with the educators, because at the end of the day,
I've walked a mile in
you
their
have walked
shoes.
you've walked 10 miles in their shoes. So I don't pretend to be an educational expert. I do know a lot about educational technology, but I don't pretend to be because I have not been a full-time classroom teacher. I've been a part-time helper, but that's not the same thing. So I don't pretend to know what you know. You don't pretend to know what I know. And so when we do our parts of our trainings, you have a part, I have a part. When there's a question, depending on the type, you answer or I answer.
Correct.
And I'm not saying everybody can have a partner, but we can be that partner if you need us to. I mean, if you, by the way, for the people out there who want to know, if you want to know who that Taylor Swift is dating, ask Perplexity
It
or
actually,
ask Bard.
tell you what,
Perplexity gives you
gave
pictures and
pictures,
links and sources.
One of them even speculated as to when the engagement was going to be happening,
Yes.
sometime in the 2024 year.
So the cutoff, that particular AI is connected to the web. Most of them are getting connected to the web. Even ChatGPT now, if you're using the premium version, it has a connection. It uses the Bing search, and it has a connection.
I was working the other day. My sister called me and asked me to do something with success criteria for her. And so I pulled up and we did some stuff in success criteria. And I put in a teak, like a Texas teak. And when I first started doing stuff with ChatGPT a year ago, I had to actually tell it what the teak was, because it had
Yes.
been, I wanted to
We copy pasted it in.
verify.
We
I wanted to
copy pasted it
verify
in.
it knew exactly which one I was talking about.
Yes.
This time when I said, hey, do you know about Texas Math Teak 5.3i? And it said, doing a search, it searched,
But
it
you use the
pulled it
premium
up.
version.
I was using the premium version.
And you can't do that on the free version of ChatGPT.
But what
You don't
about
have to.
Perplexity?
Perplexity,
What about some of
Bard,
the other stuff that's out there?
Microsoft, the Bing Copilot,
Mhm.
which is free. It uses ChatGPT 4 as the back end because they're partnered with the OpenAI people.
Which is something we go over in our training. We tell you what
give
the
you a
AI
list,
is and what it's good for.
strengths and weaknesses. And the benefit of that, and I highly recommend, if you're doing training for AI for a living, if you're training people, educating them on AI, if you don't use it,
Every day.
then you're not going to be able to teach other people how to use it. I mean, I use it every day because it's actually useful to me. If you're just using it and doing a few random searches with the hopes that you're going to learn it, it's not the same thing. A person that uses a tool every day obviously knows that tool a whole lot better because it's solving the problems you need solved.
Mhm.
And if you haven't been in education in a while, you say you haven't been in a classroom, but you go in the classrooms with the teachers, which all these instructional technology people do. There's a great opportunity. If you're in a school district now and you're an instructional technology person, then by all means contact us or contact Fried Tech. Let us come out and train you, because you're now going to go in there and sit with the teachers and show them how to use a tool that you're using,
Mhm.
that you know how to use well.
Yes.
You know the different list of tools that you can use.
Yes.
Anyway, we're off our soapbox.
Yes.
But it did kind of hit me wrong. You know how I am about, it's like people calling themselves engineers. The old joke used to be, I'm a sanitation engineer. You're not an engineer unless you have an engineering degree. You
Yes.
can do the work of an engineer, but self-taught is not the same thing as I don't claim to be an educator.
Right.
I do not have a degree in education. I have no certifications in it.
Well, it's like whenever I do stuff with my cooking blog. Just because I had a restaurant for 7 years, I am not a culinary trained chef.
And you tell people that.
I am a 7-year trained
and
by fire.
And there's nothing wrong with that kind of training, but by all means, reach out to people that have more
Yes.
depth of knowledge and let them help you.
Yes. Anyway, that's it for today. We are out of time. My name is Maury. I'm here with my husband Jim, and tune back in next time on AI in Action, where we're exploring tomorrow's tech today. We hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the week.